having a good day. So today I'm doing Draw in Your Own Style challenge from Elby Draws, celebrating us 75k followers over on Instagram. I'll link her down in the description so you can go check her out yourselves and give her some support. So I picked this one out because I liked how it looked and it was a pretty image and it was very well done and a very cool illustration concept. And I decided, you know what, it's been a while since I took on a Draw in Your Own Style challenges. I've done twice of those things now and again when I'm in the mood, and yeah. What I like about drawing your own challenges because when you see the original image, I usually try to change out the pose, or some people in particular change genders or just completely different concept to the original. I think it's a very cool thing that people do is when people actually, experiment from the original image, or some, sometimes like to make it cooler and I don't know. So yeah, at the very beginning I sketched out roughly the shape and the poses out, trying to figure out what I want to do, and then I went to a next layer when I did it more neatly and added more details of the flowers and all that's going to be, and adjusting the facial features and so on. And adding like stars and bubbles like the original. I did like the original how it had like the flowers and the stars and bubbles in it, like actual water, so I wanted to keep that in, and on the head and stuff like that. And I wanted the idea that she's kind of like a mystic being, like a woman who takes care of the flowers and stuff, nature sort of thing. So I wanted some floating bubble flower things and stuff like that, like she takes care of the plants and all that nature around her sort of thing. And I picked the pose to make sure it looks like she's interacting with something. And then I did a cleaner line on top of the sketches. I kept doing this for a little bit until I'm happy with. And I coloured in the skin. I pretty much looked on the original and how she coloured her things in, like okay, she's on the pink, the skin's very pinky side, the flower she chose was like pink and all that stuff, and so I basically did the same basic skin colour and added shading and stuff like that, and just trying to paint in natural skin colours, but later on I did add a bit more pinkish to it. I just want to make sure I keep the way of adding more colours onto the skin to the thing. Now being a bit of dark red and a bit of the skin colour as well, and doing it the same exact thing for the face, and added a basic colour for the lips as well. There was a lot of adjustments to the face and stuff, so it was a bit of a nightmare. And it's just continuously trying to work at the face and stuff like that. And adding more colours to the skin as well, just to add more colours into it. I did struggle with the shading and the lighting just a tad bit, and skipping over where I add more work to it, to the water to give contrast and definition to the water, and starting to work on the flowers. Basic colours and different varieties of pinks and some shadows as well. And adding the leaves, and pretty much did the same thing to the rest of them on each one as well. then just constantly working, make sure they look good and stuff like that. And did the same with that one as well, just making sure it looks kind of realistic and not, at the very beginning they look quite soft, but I do try and tighten it up later on and stuff as well. Hope everyone is doing okay so far. Recently I just chilled with my family and with my siblings, my mom and stuff like that, just trying to spend time together, you know, and it was a nice sunny day, so we were at the back of our own garden and just hanging out and just chilling, because it has been a nice weather for the past couple of days, and it kind of sucks for being inside and not actually go out somewhere, but I don't mind, you know, being with my family and just be back at the garden, and you know, it's alright. And doing more work on the front bubbles. Obviously I placed that there just to kind of censor that part. I hope it doesn't cause any trouble, to be honest, considering most of it's pretty much covered anyway, so it shouldn't cause any issues unless someone gets very upset about it. And then doing the flower that's inside a bubble, laser bubble. And making sure to do the shading and stuff like that. There is a bit of pauses now and again, because I pretty much stop to think what to do and looking at references just to make sure I'm doing it correctly, and like how they should look, and especially the anatomy of the woman and stuff. I do think her body, the pose, I like the pose, it's just I feel like the anatomy was a bit strange, but overall in the end it wasn't that bad, and it was alright in the end. And I went off to make some adjustments while I'm off, because there was times I was a little bit annoyed how my work was looking, but as time goes on I was more relaxed and you know, just getting used to things and being more calm and just doing whatever. And then just standing kind of in the bottom of the lake, and then trying to highlight, giving highlights of her watery hair, and just working on it and using different brushes just to give more texture and definition, and trying to give more look to it, and zoomed in and to give her eyelashes and zoom back out. Her eyes are very tiny. And trying to give more details to face, where the eyelid is, and then went back to do some work on the other. And I tried to do the background in yellowish and yellowy pale for the background. I kept changing the background quite a couple of times. I was a bit picky about it, and trying to do the bubbly, the highlights, and then try to work on the colour of the water, and then like blending it, and then went back to do some the hair, just to like highlights, and then colouring underneath as well, just to give more definition and shading to the water effects. And checking through my layers, because sometimes I was a bit lost of how many layers I had. I should have put them in groups really, but I didn't think, now did I? And then just working on the water and just giving a lot of definition, like the hair, that part was behind her, but also trying to give a bit of the light where the flower is. And doing different textures as well. And I did some work to the body off screen, and it gave a bit of textural touch to it. And working on the skin, the skin didn't look too bad so far. And then colouring the water on the bubble. I love bubbles. And then colouring that one as well. giving highlights of the line of the water, and went back to the pretty much like a lake, just trying to figure out the textures and trying to give the base color for it, and then went back to work on the water hair, and then erase some of the lines to make it neater. Like the face at the beginning, it was a bit of a nightmare. Like the sketch was a lot better than this, but eventually I did try to fix the face, and then colouring in the eye and blue and stuff, because it looked very chubby and stuff. And this is a part when I start liquefying the face, because the face just looked very chubby like, and didn't like it. If I ever use like a chubby face that's purposeful and I want the character to be like chubby and stuff, and I would do that. And then back on this, and the face looks a tad better, and I did work on the eye earlier on and the lips and stuff as well, and do the transparent mask to show shading and trying to give highlights to the face, and doing shading and stuff, and slowly working my way up to rendering the illustration, and then blending, adding a bit of pink, adding shadow details and stuff like that, adding more pink into the skin. And a slight pause to whatever, and working back on, trying to figure out adjusting the size, the colour that I wanted, and start painting and working on the hand. One of the hands anyway. So I started adding a little bit more details and adding more colour of the skin of the hand, and it was pretty much done. And let's jump out to the next part. And I did do the other hand, but it looked very odd compared to the other one. Unfortunately, and I was trying to work on the water. At first I was working, trying to get it so frustrated. I had a reference to do water. Water is not that hard, you just do this and blend and whatever, but I was constantly trying to do my own water, frustrated as all hell. And then a jump cut, I used like this water stamp and just spread it all around, and I realised, Kat, you just had to do this technique and then blend it all, and it's like, oh, okay. So yeah, there was different brushes, and just not being an idiot of making the easiest one to do. And flickering around, doing more highlights and more details to the bubbles, and blending it, and just, you know, just chipping away a little bit. And highlights to the water as well. I went back to the hair to work on some things, just to try and neaten it-ish. And did some work on the bubbles as well, like adding shading and definition to her watery hair. And I missed a spot, so I coloured that in. And I went back on the flowers to give more shading and highlighting, just to keep working on it till I'm actually happy. And using using brushes as well. No, I don't know why I bothered with this. It kind of looked weird and a bit mediocre. I mean, my work can be a bit mediocre to everyone else. Anyway, so I did with basic shading and highlighting as well. Eventually I do actually try and fix this, and went to the very front image as well to give some colour and textures to that flower as well, and blending. And then another cut to, well, come on, and here we go. I did more work to the flowers, a bit more colour and shading, a bit more hard edge to it, so it pops out a bit more after doing a bit of a soft touch at the beginning. And pretty much done the same thing with every flower in her hair, and eventually I did paint in the top one, and add more colour and detail to the leaves as well, instead of this flat colour, just to add a bit more realistic to it. By the way, for the last couple of times I've been trying to talk more in the community, and it's slowly again a little bit more confidence, I think. I'm still anxious. Like, I tried to talk to a little bit in one of the live streams, and then commenting on other people's videos and Instagrams, and actually talking to other people. It was nervous at first, but I'm slowly trying to socialize with other people. Sometimes I do get a little bit scared, but hopefully eventually I don't get as nervous as I used to be. And done all the leaves on each one, and it looking pretty good so far. And flick around the colours, because I didn't know what colours I want, and just like what do I want to do? I don't know what to do. And adjusting around the size, kind of buggered. And then I started doing leaves on that one that's close to her, because I was like, at least the leaves covered my mistake a little bit, and doing the sack shading and stuff like that, and I was like, maybe I'll do a bright bold orange yellow, but then I was like, no, and then used white and pale yellow to fix it. And I went back to this one, giving this one this flower a hard edge, but I was like, oh my god, and then trying to blend it and stuff like that. And then went on to the head one and giving more colour and saturation to it, and adding an extra leaf, because I was like, why not? And then I decided to make a hair flick cut, so it acts like the water just kind of left her fringe, and then I start adding the stars, yay! And because in the original I had like stars in her hair, and obviously I might as well add some stars into it as well. And flicking around, doing little dots and little tiny stars as well, and drawing back in the bubbles and colouring and doing the details for it. And then blending out the background again, just faffing around with the background as per usual, or faffing around with any of my works anyway. And then doing the shadows underneath the stars, just to make sure the stars pop out, and then zooming in to try and do more details for the bubbles. So yeah, and just blending all the way around. And trying to do more details and stuff like that, and trying to finish and tighten up the image, and making things a little bit cleaner, more finished, and so on. And adding more highlights there and there, and just trying to give more details and making things cleaner. And yeah, this is pretty much the end of it. I hope you guys really enjoy this kind of thing, my commentary. Hope you all stay safe, stay creative, and why not give a like and leave a comment and subscribe. So yeah, and again, see you next time, and stay creative. Bye.